Does anyone have a specific question about one of these? Any of these?
There's so many.
Okay, so
What's your favorite
what's my favorite?
for eating?
For eating. It's not on this table.
What is
What
it?
is it?
Well,
Find here?
one of my favorites is actually Boleta sedulus, which some came in this weekend.
But
you know,
they didn't put it on the table.
But they didn't wind up on the table because they go home with people.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
They don't want people touching them.
yeah, and these are in no order.
I know.
But I mean, look at the different forms, colors. Gosh, wood rotters. You know, this thing is weird. Right?
Hawkswing.
Hawkwing. This is a different species. You know, hawkwings. A lot of things on the East Coast have the same name, but than the ones on the West Coast, but they taste different. Like the ones in California tend to be bitter, and I've had them like from the Rockies, and they're very tasty. So, you know.
So,
what do you
when you
say?
talk about the Rockies, what about Sierras? Is the Sierra hawkwing taste different from the Pacific hawkwing?
I don't know that because I have not made that comparison. Has anybody done that? Has anybody eaten hawkwings from the Sierras?
Oh.
From the Sierras?
I've eaten the Sierra hawkwing, but I haven't eaten.
Were they bitter?
I liked them.
But were they bitter?
When I tell people it tasted kind of like walnuts a little bit. It kind of has that funny
Okay, so-
flavor in my mouth.
Some people say walnuts are better, but I like them.
So astringent?
Yeah, stringent.
Stringent, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so this is an interesting one. Does anyone know what lycoperdon means in Greek?
No.
Wolf something?
Wolf fart. Mycologists can be funny, you know? So what happened? Things puffing out?
Maybe my husband's farts.
Want to take that? There's some stuff that smells really good. Did anybody smell these guys?
I can't smell those.
Okay, pass some of those around. See what it's. The thing that's interesting about having people smell things is everybody smells things differently.
You guys smell your hand.
It's like, I don't have to have much on.
It's just like next to the mounds that you
So what do you think that smells like?
It's like just pleasant.
So-
It doesn't smell like much.
Does anybody want to venture a guess what that smells like? Oh. See, this is where the power of suggestion is really powerful.
Should I give it away?
No. People, I want some ideas. What are people thinking?
Oh, those violet little candies. Those violet candies.
Okay, I'm gonna suggest what the books say this smells like. Cedar. Cedar waxy caps. Okay?
It's very nice.
But, so this is
Nice.
Comphophilus russio-coriaceus, but that translates as Russian leather. So maybe that also smells like Russian leather. Whatever Russian leather smells like.
Botrytis substeriliscens is something that's not found very often. And I think about a half dozen people found them today, which is probably the best that I've seen. This one over here, the Archangeliella lactarius, this Desjardinii. This one is named for Dennis Desjardins, who was a professor at San Francisco State University, but then he retired. And this one, the gills are not fully open. The gills are all kind of maze-like and crazy, so it doesn't actually drop spores anymore.
How does it reproduce?
Well, it reproduces because it also develops a strong odor, mostly when they go secotioid like that. And the strong odors they develop is to become attractive to small mammals that then eat it and then spread spores all over the place, which is like truffles. Oh, I think that's the same.
Wow. That's so crazy looking.
We saw a wave, but no, it wasn't.
I saw
Maybe
something
when we
that
saw,
what's
like, it
there.
was not.
I have a picture of
But I mean,
Wow.
if you're really new to mushrooms, there's a great diversity here today. So some of the things for the diversity is there's like jelly fungus down there, which is fungus that are like
Yeah.
They're just jelly. But the spores don't really fall off as much as they're washed off by the rain. And then you have, so here's a jelly fungus. Most of the stuff you hear are basidiomycetes that have gills. And the gills have the spores that fall downward, which is why they look like an umbrella, so they can let the spores drop. But then you have these mushrooms, which are an ascomycete instead of a basidiomycete, and all the spores are on the top surface. And the spores develop inside the cells instead of outside, so the spores burst open and shoot up into the air.
And this is a mushroom that only grows on redwood twigs and needles. It's the only place it grows. So,
What's it called, Phil?
what's that?
What's it called?
This is Microamphalia sequoia.
Okay.
Sequoia. Guess why? So, and we found
named after the mushroom.
we found an area that must have had hundreds, carpets of these little things sticking off the ground. But get down on your knees sometimes and get close to the ground and look at how many things you're walking on. It's actually amazing. And some of these little guys play as an important role as the big one.
Oh yeah, it's a really important role for how do you get rid of the small stuff out in the woods. That small duff turns into dirt, which then turns into food for the plants and all around again. And how does that small stuff turn into, dirt? It's all these little mushrooms. The little mushrooms are the ones doing that stuff.
Yeah. And right next to these, on some oak leaves, was another little tiny one.
It's right there, right next to the
It's-
Gymnopus.
Yeah. So you see, they call this the horsehair mushroom. That's it.
On oak leaves.
Yeah. This is Gymnopus quercophyllus. Quercus being the genus for oaks. So they only live on oak leaves. So, yeah, again, get down on your hands and knees and look for this stuff.
From Hakakodile. She is amazing, and I'll introduce her in a moment, but I'm so honored to have her here. Or do you want to feel honors of reading our mission statement? Oh, this is Jenna's thing.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jenna. Born and raised here on the Mendocino Coast. I'm a lifelong forager. I run the Forage Mendocino group, and I've decided to turn it into a nonprofit that's hopefully going to benefit all of us. So our mission is, we're going to be an educational organization. We would like to host events. We would like to inform the public about sustainable foraging practices and wild food identification, preparation, and what habitat loss costs all of us. We would like to improve public access to foraging land. We would also like to advocate for tribal access to ancestral foraging lands.
Yes.
And we would also, we have a lot of plans.
Throw amazing parties like 3 times a year.
Exactly. We also would like to organize community events around habitat restoration projects in order to gain access to new public lands for foraging. We want to offer habitat restoration and trail maintenance and just, you know, an overall stewardship of these properties that we're going to be harvesting wild foods from.
I'm from Hawaii. I'm a learning guest here on the northern coast of the Pomo people. It's generically called Pomo, might I add. This was beautifully filled with a lot of different tribes with their own unique names. But unfortunately, due to many of not cool changes, the reality is this is what happened. They became invisible. Their names were not carried on the way they should. So I want to give honor and respect to the indigenous people of this land. And you, as Earth's seedlings, have a responsibility to know what land you are at, who was there to do some big changes on this earth. We need to identify that and know at one time the indigenous people of this land were not able to forage for their own food. And still to this day, the reality is they still struggle to do so too. So I'm glad you are creating this beautiful space and good relations. And as one of the vision carriers and weavers of Hakako Dele, I want to welcome you. We have a 40-foot table for sharing. We have a half an acre of a living medicine cabinet. We have work to do, and this is just the beginning. We have a beautiful stage and a little mini sound system and very loud Hawaiian to help you out. So I want to ask you for a minute if anybody's videotaping, if you could stop videotaping, because in my own tradition, I have to humbly greet you.
And all the different kinds of glowing mushrooms that I have photographed recently. And it's going to take me about 2 minutes to set up the computer, and then it'll be on the screen over there.